Hi all and welcome to the Truth, Honour and Integrity show. This is now Saturday, August the 27th. Only seems like a few minutes ago we ended last Thursday's show. And that took some getting used to. I've seen some of the reactions on the page. And it took a lot for me to get used to it also. It was, I don't think until after the show you realise what that show entailed and what it was all about, and some of the plans for the now and some for the future. Some of you liked some of the plans and some of you didn't. Some are sceptical, and that's understandable. I'm kind of sceptical in some aspects of it. I've asked further questions of the council, and also some of the ladies the three ladies that were involved in support of the council, and so will be clarifying some of that in this hour. In the second hour, we are hoping to bring Lily Earthling on and get some lively chat and some really insightful input of what's going on and an understanding of what's going on, both on a psychological and a collective level. It's going to be important, we've come a long way. I'm talking about this show as an individually. I always like to include Cosmic Voice, because there's many from Cosmic Voice, and there's many who are still in Cosmic Voice that listen to this show. But over the last 4 or 5 months, and it includes some of Cosmic Voice, we've come a long way in so many aspects with things to do with the alternative community. There's some things that are being exposed that we didn't particularly like about maybe some that we have followed in the past, that their narrative was not as correct as it should have been, whether it was deliberate or not. It's some in both cases, and that's not been an easy ride. It's not been easy for myself and some of the others that are putting this information out, like Randy Morgan's. It's kind of difficult, because it always looks like you're knocking out competition, or our show is better than your show, or my information is better than yours. That's not the point or purpose of it. It's to prepare you for the truth as best as can be put out. Many of us, including myself, I've been wrong in the past, and if I'm wrong in the future, or even in that, I will hold my hands up and say so. That's what this show is based upon. It was such a groundbreaking show, and it's probably doubled the listeners that on the normal show, if that's what this show is about. The last 3 shows have kind of been mind-blowing in its own sense. There's probably another 1 or 2 to come that will blow people's minds further, I might add. When they are, I'm unsure as yet, but we'll see. And it's going to be, to me, it's highly encouraging. I'd like to focus on you, the listeners, and the members on the page at the moment, because you took a leap of faith. It's never easy kind of leaving Drake behind. We've all grew up on Drake. All had a learning curve on Drake, and it wasn't until after Thursday's show, it felt kind of, although I was elated and every other type of feeling, there's also a kind of disappointment that it wasn't with Drake. It would have been nice in some aspects, but and maybe in some other aspects it may not have taken place that way. Who knows? Things happen for a reason, and we try to move on. But on a personal level, it would have been nice if Drake was with us. It also would have been nice if Tanat was with us. Also would have been nice that Sunfire. I know some of you mentioned that one of the ladies sounded like Sunfire. When I first heard it, I thought the same thing. Sadly, it wasn't Sunfire. I wish I haven't spoken to Sunfire, and from what I gather, now there's anybody else for the last 2 years. Nobody knows where she is, so it would have been nice. But we've kind of led a path where we've gone down subjects that have been uncomfortable. Some of the messages at the latter end of Cosmic Voice was getting a bit confusing. I was saying one thing and Drake has another. And, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Drake like Trump. I don't believe he's of any value. In fact, I don't believe any current politician is of any value to we the people. None of them have anything to do with our best interests, despite what they burble out in conferences and all kinds of television programs and debates. They're not interested in we the people. Only we the people are interested in we the people. And the more of us that come together, surrounded by like-minded people who feel comfortable in their own skin, who have done the difficult work, dealt with the shadow side. We all deal with that, or should deal with that on a daily basis. Once you start doing that, then the changes that are taking place currently should be more prevalent. Many are now starting to link up, not only in a Facebook sense. I'm talking about a telepathic sense. There's a resonance to people that's increased absolutely immensely amongst some people, and particularly I've noticed amongst our particular group. Some might dismiss that. It's just one of those things. You really need to see the signs. Many things are changing, and I know perhaps we're all looking for a big event of some description, whether that's a politician gets arrested, or the election gets cancelled, or ET lands on the White House lawn, or whatever. It doesn't really, or a financial event. The big event, as described on the last show, comes from within. Not from me, not from the council, not from David Wilcock or anybody else who is putting the information out. It comes from within. And the fact that many of you are noticing changes within, changes in sleep patterns, changes in frequencies, energies, things seem more vibrant. The plant life, the animals, many have noticed that. Because it's not all about what's taken place. It's not all just about humanity and people. It's about every living being. They're all feeling the energies. The planetary being also. So it's important that many people continue to recognize the changes. One thing I'd also like you to observe is the lack of news on the alternative media. This was forecast on the show a long time back. As the people who are deceiving are exposed, they will gradually fall off, and so will some of the others. And this has taken place. What you will also maybe notice is the amount of alternative media style news in the mainstream media. The exposure of Clinton, the exposure of Trump, and the exposure of the 6.5 billion missing out of the Pentagon. Not billion, I should say, trillion. For people who really understand how difficult losing that type of money, and I'll put losing in very, very heavy inverted commas, that's 13 years budget gone missing. 6.5 trillion, 13 years budget. So in other words, what the Pentagon is saying is that since 2003, the Pentagon have lost all the money. Not their money, ours. Where did it all go? Well, our community has exposed quite a lot of where that goes into secret black budgets, MK Ultra, etc., etc., advanced craft, and not of any use to the people, just used for military purposes or certain corporations for their benefit. Again, not for the people's benefit. The advances in technology over the last 20 years, most of us, or 30 years, are quite astounded by it. But the advances, the real advances in technology, we should have had 50, 60 years ago. The Tesla machine was 100 years ago, 110 years ago, where we didn't have to pay $200, $300, $400 a month for utility bills. So whilst the progress on the technological level has been kind of rapid, it could have been tenfold. Maybe now things are actually changing. Maybe that increase was good in many ways. I said on the show, I would like technology to be based. Is it beneficial to humanity? Does it make me more human or less? If it's less, why do we need it? You heard the girls mention about a certain planet that went down the technological level too much, and they became lazy. It's not a good way to be. Some people, a lot of us are all doing jobs that maybe are tedious and boring, but it puts the food on the table and the roof over your head, and you carry on doing it. But eventually, we'll reach a position where you're able to choose your profession. We get into a position where the basics are provided, certainly if not for free, or at a drastically reduced cost because of the technological advances. Then do we need to earn 60, 80, 100,000 a year to get by? Some are getting by on a few dollars a month in certain parts of the world. It's all about perspective. The Western world is still, compared to other parts of the world, rich. If you've got clean water and 3 meals a day, you would be classed by somebody from Africa, like living like a king. And we sometimes forget that. But rest assured, when the changes come and the humanitarian projects go out, those people who really need will be provided for first. We will see changes, absolutely. The People's Club will endeavour to make the changes on behalf of America. There'll be other people around the world doing something similar in their particular countries. Some of the funds has already gone out to 3 or 4 regions to help them where it's safe to do so. Some of the tribal people, both South America and Africa, have already received some of the collateral accounts. So it's I'm finding it encouraging that people did take a step back from Thursday, and the page went quiet on Friday. Some may be in shock. It was kind of normally I struggle to find the top of the hour. I checked and I thought, oh, what time is it? But after about 20 minutes on Thursday, I thought, I can't wait for the music break, to be quite honest, because the excitement in myself and experiencing what I was experiencing, I just wanted to get off the mic, jump up and down and shout, holy F, is this really happening? Yeah, I wanted a big release. Yes, it was, and yes, it is. But you have to try and keep your composure and do the show as per normal. But I was exactly the same as some of the listeners, going, "Oh my God!" You know, just before it went live on air, there was a live link to the 3 girls and also the council. That particular mic was open. And when I said we were going to go live, there was a huge shriek. And that was the excitement of the council. That was their particular method of speech. It was very, very high-pitched. And so they were just as excited as we were. I don't think people at times grasp the enormity, because if people say to me anymore, we want disclosure, please don't ask me that again. You've just had it. That was the enormity of that show. And yes, some like more evidence, and I understand that, and some want to see visible proof, and I understand that just as well. People have rights to be skeptical on certain things. Some people are skeptical. Unfortunately, I've seen sign of envy. It was me who was chosen to do the show, and that's sad in many ways. You know, it's about learning the truth, not who did it. I don't take it as that way. You know, if the Drake had done the show, I'd have been just as happy. If Corey Goodard had done the show, I'd have been just as happy. Because it's about us learning the truth. Us experiencing things that we never thought would take place. But it has. So, a couple of things that kind of piqued my interest. And one or two of you mentioned on the page is over the Earth resources, and it kind of didn't sit too well with me when it was mentioned, but then excitement levels were really high, and perhaps I thought, well, maybe I haven't heard it correctly, but it didn't. It seemed to mention that it was about Earth and the resources. Well, actually it's not. It's about Earth and its liberation. But basically, I asked specifically about what was meant, and to clarify a mention of Earth resources. Now, some will be familiar, but most people won't be. There is galactic trade that has gone on. Some of our resources, be it water, or gold or a number of other things have been disappearing off the planet at a certain rate, particularly some of the gold in the past. So we have been trading, but it's not we the people that's been trading, it's the rogue elements, the SSP and the breakaway groups, and special interest. Now, what I was told, and it was stressed, there will be no kind of trade. Now the treaty is signed, trade will not commence until we are all provided for first. So there's no case of they're going to take all the water, or they're going to do this and they're going to do that. You know, the contracts that have been ongoing, not only galactic contracts, which means galactic, for those who didn't hear it perhaps correctly, all galactic councils were run and operated by the Draco. We're not interested in galactic councils and their contracts. And so new contracts will be drawn up. The human representatives, which are the first time in history, as I understand it, and that was confirmed, on the council, will not allow Earth to be traded off without the knowledge of the people going forward. There will be no bogus contracts going off either. In fact, a lot of the contracts, the major contracts have all ended. There's some contracts currently operating on the surface that will also have to be ended. They're not our contract, they're not the people's contract, it's them again. Well, we don't have to abide by their contracts and their rules once they're out of the way. So there's one of the issues is the water. Now, the reality is there's plenty of water. Is it moving around a bit? Absolutely. You know, there's less in California, but there's seems to be an awful lot more in Louisiana at the moment. Isn't that right, Dave? So it moves around like the glaciers. They're not all fixed in one place. It moves around. So, but the difference here with the water is there's liquid ice, or not liquid ice, there's ice water out in the universe, but this water here is different. It's a living water. And Chloe gave me a good description of this morning. It comes from Mother Earth. It then seeps through the soil and is nourished by the plant life and the trees, and so it becomes electrolyzed in many ways. Chloe will probably explain this in the second hour better than I can. But the dead water, the difference between earth water and the dead water, although dead water is hydrating to some extent, it requires hundreds of times of the amount that we would have or need to achieve the same results. So that's the kind of issue with water. Perhaps it's like the universal champagne. Now that doesn't mean to say we're going to allow a load of entities to come in and just scoop it up in big craft and float off with it. We've got lots of people, 40% of the planet does not have access to clean water. That has to be fixed first, long before any trade takes place. Humanity also has to be brought up to scratch on galactic trade. You know, everything else has been done through the cabal. We will need people, and there is people, the three that were on the show, plus a couple of others, that will be pushing for certain things on behalf of humanity to do with the council. They've asked for my input on certain things from time to time, and I will perhaps suggest that we increase that number around the world, where we have a mixture or a selection of people that are not, hopefully not commerce-based or militaristic, and people-based and spiritual-based, that can provide a balance for the people. But no one will be making decisions or fairly radical decisions on your behalf. That has been made very, very clear. We're not going to go with you boss, same as the old boss here, have some toys and go and play with them while we take over you again. That's not going to happen. You know, the Draco and the Tech and a few of the other miscreants have largely now been dealt with. There's still underlying issues that have to be addressed. They are in hand, and they will be dealt with in due course. You know, people will often ask about, when's the chemtrails going? Well, some of them have. People are now noticing the clearer sky. The blue sky is a lot clearer. It's a lot more blue than it was before. That's just again a sign of the return to the natural. Everything in colour looks a bit more brighter, different, not as dull. So that's again another one of the signs people can look out for themselves. We didn't have chemtrails here for the last 2 weeks. I knew they would do it Friday, following Thursday's show. Right over the house. You know, normally in Florida they go down the coast. They go right down the west coast and right down the east coast, and then the east and western seaboard brings it inland. Not this time. Right over. Well, so I waved. That's the best thing you can do with them. People, because their time for doing that fun and games is now rapidly diminishing by the hour and by the day. You know, not everything can possibly be fixed overnight, or even by the end of this year, or even by the end of next year, or even by the end of 2020. There's so much to fix. There's so much hidden. A lot of it's been revealed. Said this will be the year of revealing the hidden, and boy has it revealed the hidden. So it's I'm glad most people were quiet on Friday, a period of reflection. Absorb what you experienced. How does it make you feel? You know, each person's going to feel different. Some will be frightened by it, because it's okay talking about certain things, but suddenly when it becomes reality, it's a different mindset altogether. Sometimes people get blasé, talking about them reptilians and them mantids. But I've said this before. How would you feel if one of them tapped you on the shoulder? Not as blasé as you would talking about them on the Facebook page. But this is something that you have the strong possibility of experiencing in the coming years. You know, some of the people that listen to this show have already experienced it. So those people don't need disclosure. You've already had it. some of you in pleasant circumstances, a lot of you in very unpleasant circumstances. The idea of meeting an ET has not always been pleasurable, far from it. Some horrendous stuff that's gone on around the world, and the abduction issue is far deeper than most realise. Only very few remember. Only very few have the courage to not only remember, but to come out and tell people. Even if it's only family members, and even less come out and onto the internet and tell their story. So you go back and factor in the figures. It's quite a number that have been abducted and just put it down to a dream, or just put it down to, oh, that was a bit of a nightmare. Yeah, literally. There's lots of things that's got to be fixed. One of the most important things, speaking to Randy Morgans this morning, his most important thing is removing of the MK Ultra stroke mind control fun and games. In essence, that is already taking place. Is it still going on? Yes. Are more and more of those people who have been in the program stepping out and coming forward? Absolutely. So something has happened. Suddenly the super soldiers are waking up with the memory. And lots of them are now joining together. That terrifies the cabal. A lot of the mercenaries who worked for Z and Blackwater are now coalescing together, because they haven't been paid in a long time, 2 or 3 years, in real money anyway. So the cabal are very much now on the back foot, and things will be addressed according to the severity of whatever is taking place. You know, we all want, maybe people want different things. Maybe some people want the foundation to start. Maybe it might be to do end of the chemtrails or new healing machines. I think we all need some of that, given what we've all gone through over however many years you've decided to step out of the matrix and learn the truth. It's not an easy path, far from it. Each and every one of you that listens to this show has taken the hard route. The fact that you're all here still standing and largely intact, both in mind and thought process, is as a credit to yourself. Because it's quite easy to just put the blinkers on and go la 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 la, I can't hear nothing. Any clown can do that. You walk the lonely path. And unfortunately, along the lonely path over the last number of years, particularly the last 5 years, there were some hefty bumps in the road of people professing to tell you the truth and weren't. That had to be cleared, and cleared quickly, to then allow the real truth to come forward. Yes, there was some things in the show that, my opinion, differed. You know, I put out that the moon was a craft, that it was hollowed out. They're saying it's natural. And if they're right, I'll hold my hand up. It's best to have the truth than to hold on to the lie. But in essence, whether the moon's a craft or a satellite, or the Earth's flat, round, a six-sided star or a dodecahedron, it doesn't really matter. What really matters is that we fix it. We can all argue over the narrative, that my opinion is more important or more right than yours. You know, some of it has to be addressed, because if you're going down too much of a wrong path, then it has to be addressed. But the idea that we spend lots of time arguing over whether the Earth's flat or round, or the moon's a satellite or a craft, it doesn't really make any difference. What does make a difference is the tyranny that's been taking place. So Randy is, I would like to see a particular end to the MK Ultra and that kind of stuff. One of the main things I'd like to see an end of is the abuse of children. I've kind of avoided this because it upsets many. It's a difficult subject, and we've all heard, veterans today are just, 70,000 on a pedophile list. I think that's a low end. I hate to tell people that. I think that's a low end. It goes far deeper. We've all heard about the sexual abuse of children. Some have heard about the trafficking. And some have heard about other things. And the use of the endocrine of the child for the Kool-Aid juice. There's many uses for children that these entities and psychopaths have used. And the amount of children that go missing per year is so far off the charts, it would blow your mind away. That has to be addressed. We have to provide a planet that supports, protects, nourishes and educates the children. They are the future. They always were. Our parents were our guardians, and we go on to God our children. We cannot continue to put blinkers on, all of us, and go, I don't want to hear that. That's too much for me. No. It's how about what's happening to that child? Is it too much for them? Do they deserve people turning their back on them because the people can't handle the truth? No. That has to stop. And this is why in the future, along with the People's Club and the Foundation, where we get people together and discussing these type of things. Yes, there will be help to get people back on their feet again. But the purpose of the foundation, or the overlying purpose, is to get people communicating again. End the mistrust between people. Not only the white versus black issue, there's a mistrust between white people and white people. We're all fine talking on text messages or messages on Facebook. How about I would like to speak to you in person? One of my bugbears and those talking messages on the phones. Press 1 for this and press 2 for that. No, I want to speak to somebody. Actually, not a machine. You can stick the machine where the sun don't shine. So it's that's where I would like to see things improved, and rapidly, where we provide, each and every one of us has a role to provide for themselves and everybody else. Not everyone for themselves, that we currently have. I can't afford the latest iPhone. Some people can't afford a first meal. You know, and the idea going forward, like the cabal, they seem to think we'll not raise Africa up to the standard of Western living. We'll lower Western living to the standard of the African. That was what was taking place. Some horrific figures to do with America and how many are out of work. Don't believe what the MSM are telling you. It's all there on the US debt statistics. 150 million on benefits. That's half the population. 97 million out of work. That's a third. Where do you get the 5% from? That's the Babylonian magic figures. You just pluck figures out of thin air. A bit like how they do mortgages. For them, not for us. So, the council and the people which are at this moment a small number of Earth humans, it is increasing, and it will increase the input back into the support of the ones that are part of the council. The fact we've now got people on it, already it's made a change. So the council were asked to deal with the sun. Or could we deal with the sun? They asked for to give some leeway to make a decision, and the sun continued to play fun and games. Sun then paid consequences of actions, and the minions around them. So the council acted on behalf of humanity who asked for it. They said on the show, we can't just go in and do this, this and this, because it's going against free will. There's still the sleepers who, for one reason or other, choose to stay in the slavery suit. We're seeing a decrease in that, not as rapidly as we all like. Because once it reaches a critical mass, it runs away with itself. As the hive mentality changes to the other side, because then people are frightened of being the minority. Safety in numbers is not always the best. It's not always the best. So, where are we now? 10 minutes. I've babbled on probably longer than I would have liked, because I did have a whole load of news on general news, but perhaps it was best I spoke and give some clarity on certain things to do with the last show, and discuss certain things in the background and bring us all back down to earth a bit. I'm not too sure I have yet. Then that may be a good thing. So there will be more shows. I'm expecting that when there's significant updates, one or all of them will come on the show again. You know, some of them are involved in the financial aspects of what's going on. They mentioned that during the show. There's others involved in other things. Some of the foundation people that's connected with this particular group are dealing with certain governments. They're also dealing with certain cabal members. negotiating for them to step down. Because the last thing the council wants or desires is bloodshed under any circumstances. But if it comes to a desperate situation where one or two individuals, or maybe 100 or maybe 200 individuals, are basically holding up the rest of humanity and have no intentions of stepping down or playing fair or doing the right thing, then they will take action in support of what humanity asked for. A lot of humanity won't be aware of it, and you appreciate it's not representative. It's never going to be representative of all humanity. Everyone has a different choice. But what you're doing now is you're voting without knowing. Your conscious thought is going out. We've said this in previous shows. It doesn't reflect back onto you anymore. It goes out. The message went out after the tech went down, and the consciousness was going out more where it should go, into the cosmos, and help arrive. They've so far dealt with what we requested, not what they wanted. I want to make that quite clear. I thought they made it clear in the show, but one or two you perhaps didn't hear it right, or were a bit concerned about things, and that's understandable. But they will not be playing the authoritarian role under any circumstances. This is about natural law, natural cosmic law. That means that they do not have a right to impinge on the free will of humanity. They will enforce natural law if certain beings or people on this planet are not adhering to it. But then if you get a mass of the population all working together, all pulling together in the same direction, forgetting borders and boundaries, countries and all that rubbish, or whether you're Catholic, Protestant, Muslim, black, white, green, blue, pink or black, doesn't really matter. You get a group of beings all together, all pulling in the same direction, and you isolate the ones who are not in accordance with natural or cosmic law. Those people will go away, because they're impinging on your free will. So, rest assured, the Council will not be making radical decisions where contracts are being made without the public's awareness. It may come to a point in the future where the public is asked to vote on certain planetary matters, not country matters, planetary matters. Should we allow in certain species on our planet? Should we trade with certain species? These are all decisions for the future. But at the moment, when a lot of us have little or no idea how galactic trade or contracts works, we're going to need people who are immersed in that, and used to that, and observed that, to deal with it on our behalf. But they will be reporting back to flesh and blood human people to then disseminate the information. So nothing will be done underhand or in secret, and then we find out 10, 15 years later we've been coerced into another parenting role. That won't happen. So, in the second hour, we're going to have Lily Earthling on, and it's going to be a chat more than an interview as such. Lily wants to cover a number of things, and she's got quite an extensive knowledge, so that'll be fun. But one of the items I wanted to cover, I'm going to cover before the music break, is the guy called Mr. Duterte. And I was going to cover this on Thursday, but with that different and special show. He's this Philippine guy, president or prime minister, has decided to take on the drug people in his country, and 500 drug suspects have been killed in gun battles with police since he was sworn in 8 weeks ago. The UN official, a woman by the name of Agnes Calamard, suggested that Philippine officials could be held liable, saying in a recent statement that claims to fight illicit drug trade do not absolve the government from its international legal obligations. Really? Why are they standing by whilst the carnage is going on in Syria or in Mexico or going on in Colombia for long enough? Isn't the UN supposed to step in? So they're the last body to be telling anybody what to do and what not to do. So Mr. Duterte decided to say, maybe we'll just decide to separate from the United Nations. If you're that rude son of a bitch, we'll just leave you. That's the way you speak to these people. There's a time for diplomacy and everything, but when these hypocrites are telling you what you can and cannot do, that they are not enforcing themselves, it's time to tell them for what it is. So he's used to be the long-time mayor, and he went on to belittle the UN work in the Philippines, and he's then questioned their performance of the UN agency on fighting against hunger. So, kudos to that man. We could do with someone similar here. And he went on and called the UN inutile, which is another word for pointless, and stupid, and said he would invite other countries like China and African nations to form a new international body, and told the UN basically where to go. Why isn't the UN stepping in over Syria? I asked him about the repercussions of his remarks. His reply was, I don't give a shit about them, they are the ones interfering. So, like I say, it's not the most diplomatic of tones, but sometimes that is required, and it might make some of those retards in the UN wake up to real reality. The drug issue has affected a lot of people's lives, and it's nice to see somebody actually dealing with it, not proliferating it. Right, we're going to go into a music break now, and then hopefully I can get Lily on, and we'll have a good chat on certain things. Let's go with this. Hi all, and welcome back to the second hour this evening. First for TH&I, we tried to get this lady on Cosmic Voice, but the time kind of, like everything at this moment, passed us by. So we're proud to welcome, and we're glad to have her on, Lily Earthling. And also, Chloe's on the line as well. So, we should have a good chat. Hi, Lily.
Hi, Thomas, and hello, Chloe, and hi to all the listeners. I'm so excited to be here today. Very excited.
So, we'll go a bit into your backgrounds and who and what you are and what you've done. And most of our members are familiar with you. But for some of the expanding listeners that we're having to this show, who may not know, can you give us a rundown of everything? Lily, please.
I'm going to try to be short.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a typical human being. I'm a human being.
Yeah.
But I had a very interesting path in my life, and it got me to the point where all I want to do is find the truth. Find the truth of who I was. And this is where I started on my spiritual path, as I say. But my life has always been very mystical. And where I grew up and my life and my parents and everything about my life has been always mystical. So this is the route that I took, and I come to a point in my life to where I wanted to know the truth, and I wanted to actually change this reality. Because from the very young age, you might want to say that I'm one of those people that are different. I had awareness of a lot of things in my young age, and I had a very deep connection with nature and land, and that was all coming through me through my genetic line, of course, but it was also my soul path that orchestrated this life for me. And so from a very young age, I have no fear of spiritual or invisible reality. And so to me, I always seen how it gets manipulated and how the unseen and seen are connected, and how in our world there was so much manipulation from entities and the control that was here, the spiritual hierarchy that was here. And so I stepped on that path of trying to find the truth, and in 2014, I came up with sort of my card, I guess, that I put on the table. I figured it out that on the end of 2012, we had what I called it an activated Earth timeline. Means that the Earth had made a choice to get out of matrix system. Yes. And got out of this simulation that was in here. And now, with all this information that came out ever since that, I now understand what it was and all of that stuff. But on that time, when I came up with all of that stuff, and that's been in the work for years before I had my sort of little piece that I needed to bring out to other human beings. Yeah. I had a lot of mystical experiences in my life to where I knew that there's certain things in my life that's going to come and that I need to do certain things for humanity. Because from a very young age, I was able to, as what happened on Thursday, I got a really interesting confirmation from a Thursday show that you did with Console, because I got several confirmations, and one of those confirmations is an explanation of fluid time. Yes. That I was struggling with on, how does that work? But now I understand that in my life I had access to it and I understood what that is.
Are you going to do a video about this fluid time, or would you share that with us at this time?
Well, throughout my life, I had a lot of experiences to where I would, for the lack of terms, I used to call it jump in times, to where I would have experiences to where I would go into fluid time and actually go to different points in time. But I would not travel through linear time. I would go through spirit, meaning through going in.
Yeah, outside corporeal time, outside your body, where time travel is as fast as thought. I think, Thomas and I have been talking about it. More and more people are experiencing it. So that would be very interesting if you could go into the understandings that you got.
One of the things that came up recently, Lily, that may add to the collection of the pieces of the puzzle, and you may have already got it, because one of the things I've watched some of Lily's videos, not all. We've spoken to Lily a few times, and Chloe's spoken more. But in essence, Lily, you had more of the picture than anybody else on a scientific level, so to speak. I've spoken recently about coming back from nighttime stuff, visions or dreams, whichever way you want to call it, with certain things that corresponded with your work. But you got it an awful lot earlier. But I think, having spoken to you, and you know the doubts I had about the stuff that I brought forward, and you went through the same thing, and it's all like a giant jigsaw puzzle, and you just can't seem to make sense, or you do make sense, but you're not comfortable enough in your own skin to recognise that you've got the whole picture of the puzzle that's been problematic to Earth and this particular timeline or time loops. And so I'd like you to go over some of the stuff that you got much quicker than anybody else on the alternative media, I might add, and go through some of that if possible.
Whichever you feel comfortable about.
I will talk about a little bit about how it has always been a foundation for me, that the self, the inner knowing. And I was lucky enough to have a very rich energy, the mystic energy, throughout my life. And so I always went with that. And it took me good 40 years to trust that knowing. Yeah. Because throughout my life, I had always been able to read the energy and to gain the knowing. But the hardest thing is to trust it. And so it takes time, and it takes a lot of checking and rechecking. And that's what I've been doing a lot because this is what happens. This is how I get my information that you're talking about, Thomas, that it's sort of scientific. I just barely get through, science in school. I hated it because it was so boring.
Well, I think I've told people in a previous show, we used to have separate lessons, physics in one lesson, which I absolutely hated, and chemistry in another. And we always had chemistry after a lunch break or an afternoon or morning break. And during the morning or afternoon break, I used to go and sneak into the lab and throw all the Bunsen burners out the third floor window, so we didn't have to do the experiments. That's how much I hated it.
Whereas Lily and I would set all the frogs to be dissected free.
Yes, I only do it energetically.
Yeah, so it's been hard, not only understanding what we're getting from our higher self, our whole self, understanding it here because our brains can't hold the RAM, but it's also been, when we tell you, it's amazing to us, and we're listening to your videos now, that the fact that you not only got a lot of this in totality that we've all come to collectively kind of understand now, way ahead of us, way ahead of a lot of other people, isn't about like Lily had it first. It's just, we want to give you kudos for bringing through that difficult to understand, like you said, 40 years of, not necessarily doubting yourself, but really trying to understand it because you had a sense, you had a mission to bring forth this information. And that's what a lot of us are dancing right now is, what is our mission? Why are we here? And it's not about competition, but it's about giving each other encouragement. And that's basically what I want to see.
Yeah, and the thing is that we all, and this is why I even came out publicly, is because I had a feeling that we all hold some pieces and stuff, and all of that need to be put together in this collaborative attempt to collaborate as human beings and say, this is how much I've retained or this is how much I've regained. Mm-hmm. Of the knowing, the original knowing. Because once the end of 2012 hit, something had opened up and I knew that, okay, now we have to step up. Humanity has to step up. And so in 2014, when I came out and I talked to Lisa and Danny from Roundtable, I said, I'm bringing this information. I know this is different and all of that stuff. It's because this is for the cleanup crew.
Yeah.
Yes.
This was not for alternative media followers.
No.
But I always am energetically very tuned in. So I felt that there was such a need for pieces to start coming together, because all my life, and I think for most of us, even for all of those that listening tonight, I'm sure for most of us, when we were growing up, when we were in that space of who am I, what do I want to do in this life, every one of us at some point wanted to change things. I wanted to change things from the day one.
Yes.
Because energetically being thrown into this reality was the biggest shock to my soul.
Yeah.
In the way I came in. And I don't know, and a lot of people would say, well, you were lucky because you are, I am with a KGB term would be, and probably a CIA term would be, for me is I'm living, breathing, talking, lie detector.
Oh. So you basically came in with more source essence as such, as I get it.
So what I was able to do is distinguish the living energy from dead energy and the manipulation in it, in the mental energy, mental body, and how it all works. That concept, the whole concept of looshing and all of that stuff and all of that entity attachments and technology that was visible to me energetically.
Oh. Must have been. I had a difficult upbringing as such. I always felt everything was wrong. It's like the old saying, it was made famous by David Icke, but I think it was Chris Hedges who did the original quote, everything is wrong, everything is backwards, everything's upside down. And that's the way I felt, but I had no explanation for it, no deeper level. What you're saying is you recognise that and also experienced it. That must have been awful difficult growing up as a child when everyone else appears different, in inverted commas.
Yes. Yes, so you're just being the weirdo, but at the same time, there was a point to where I understood that other people are not like me, and then how to actually be okay with it. You know, and understand that, because a lot of times I could see that the system running their head through this technology, and they don't even, like, they're not aware of it. And you can feel, and this is how I say, sometimes you can feel that the individual doesn't have a living soul blueprint. It's because there's no living frequency that I can feel. This is the other thing. For me, it's I have this like extra hearing for this, that to where I can hear it in the voice, and I can distinguish a difference between if it's a manipulated frequency or if it's just flowing energy, because it has like a different resonance.
Are you talking about sort of AI avatars that are walking around with us? You can almost hear when you speak with them what if they're organic soul or not?
Yep.
Okay, that's what she's saying. All right.
And so, but I also, you know, as later I found out that I guess this is part of me, you know, I just go through life and there's things that I do that I don't know why I do them.
Yeah.
You know? Like when I was a child, I just been weird, and I found, you know, people that I could connect with, and that's what I did. And that was usually, you know, ladies that are older with a lot of wisdom to share.
I was just going to ask you that, because I think a lot of us that have experienced this type of stuff from a young age all go through very, very similar things. We don't, we're very introvert, for one, very deep and within ourselves, because we're frightened of saying things because this world doesn't accept truth too easily. And we seek solace in the older generation rather than our own. And I think that's probably, to the listeners, they'll all be nodding and going, yeah. And so it kind of fits a pattern for the ones like yourself and many in TH&I. There's many in TH&I not aware of what they knew or know, or are too frightened to come forward. But we've given them the courage to do so, and many have, and are now what I call wearing their own skin. They're not comply with other people, what they want them to be. Be yourself. And so it's encouraging that you, despite the difficulties, and it is difficult, knowing that something's not right is one thing, knowing that everything's not right is another. You know,
yes.
So you interacted a lot better with the older people.
Yes, and yes, it is difficult, but working through, and especially in this last few years, working through a lot of my own shadow work, doing all of that, and really getting deeper and deeper in, what I've realized that every one of us has a life that is perfect for us, because right now, no matter how difficult and how horrific my life might seem to somebody, right now I am so glad that I grew up in the experiment that was the Soviet Union. It was an experiment. That I grew up in a family that ran a whole different experiment with the religion and all of that stuff. Because right now, going through all of that and shedding everything and standing in who I am, everything in my life had a purpose. Yeah. Because right now, I can go back to something, to my experiences in the childhood, and it will bring meaning to me right now. I will give you an example.
Yes.
All right. You earlier you asked me, it's like, this concepts. Because what I'm trying to, sometimes what comes through is this concepts. And in my life, I know that I can only compare and talk about experiences that I've experienced. So in this, I go back to what are the experiences in my life that show me that it's possible for me as a human being be thinking on that level to where it's concepts, where you exchange concepts, the whole concepts, where you don't do it word by word, to where it's like, boom, and it's all there. And I can always find that what is real, and the questions that arise within me, the more I'm trying to go within and free myself from all this gunk that I had taken on. Because, and I can find experience in my life that might seem to be a very negative if just told from a perspective of just the story. But if you look at your life as your spiritual experience, because it is, then everything in your life has a meaning. And so to just give you a story, how I go back and understand that conceptual thinking is absolutely possible, because it's been happening to me when I was a kid. My mom's side, which is a probably Vedic gypsies bloodline, very mystical, and they lived pretty much in the country with the land, off of land. They're just very, very close to the ground. And so my aunt has a whole bunch of 10 kids and 10 boys. And so I come there for summer as a child to just, hang out with my cousins. And so one time with one of my cousins, he's older, a teenager, and we go into the forest because they live right next to the forest, and right on the middle of the forest there's the wild wild strawberries plantation. And so he's taking me there to go get some strawberries. And as we come to the place, he takes me down, and I'm about 6-7 years old, from his shoulders, and he's wearing like long boots because there's poison ivy and all kinds of things in nature. And I'm bare feet. I'm always bare feet. So he puts me on the ground, and out of nowhere comes a snake, a deadly snake, and it's coming from me. In that moment, this is what I remember. Him and me thinking in that moment and exchanging concepts of what to do. And next thing I know, half a second later, he jumps, I jump out of the way, he jumps on the head of the snake with one foot and jumps on the other, on its tail with the other, grabs his knife from the pocket, and he cuts it in half. And he turns to me and he said, "That worked." And this is one of my cousins that was, that was later tortured and killed in Soviet army.
Mm.
And when they brought him home, they brought him in that metal thing that they used to bring from Afghanistan, all the dead soldiers into Ukraine. And they wouldn't let us open him up because they didn't want us to know that he was tortured. And he was not in Afghanistan.
No, they have these metal boxes are probably almost welded shut because they don't want us to know. And some part of it's probably a better thing to not see, because it's not how you want to see your loved one. But basically, in some ways, in different measures, people can relate to this. We've all had pretty dark experiences and WTF experiences of these heavy concepts that in context to our daily lives are very difficult to understand. And the more we clear ourselves of the gunk, like you mentioned, the more we understand the big picture of the dark experiences. What they teach us mostly how to be strong, and also to trust ourselves more and to keep trying to understand what our higher selves are trying to get through to us conceptually about our mission here. It's not easy. It's not easy. I mean, where you were born, it's not easy. I've known other people from Serbia and other places in the world, and the things that they tell me that were normal to their lives are just unbelievable.
Yes, and the thing is, the reason why I want to sort of talk about this is because we're also, most of us, and I think those people that will listen today, will have these experiences to where that which is so close to your soul had been ripped away from you in such a manner to where you just don't know what to do. But what I'm saying here, and by me being here and saying, you know what, but I've learned still such a valuable lesson from those moments or those years that I had with that with my cousin, let's just say, here in this situation. There is the value to me is huge, because by me going back and learning and seeing the value in that experience, or being around this individual, or experiencing something so difficult, but to come out of it and learn a lesson from it, and then to come back, like for me, I trusted that the process of that thinking that I would have, that it was okay to actually put it into public. It took so much courage for me, and trusting that it's possible to present that type of concept.
So you're saying that, like the gifts of what, beautiful moments we have with people that we love, people that understand us, help us be stronger to trust and bring forward what we're here to do. It's kind of a broad swath that I'm trying to sort of reframe so it's more clear, but
perhaps the strongest thing, sometimes we need others around us to support here and there, but the real strength comes from within. And it's when you are able to do that, and despite all the carnage around you, still keep going, still keep your your own core values, your own core strength, your own inner being, and your own soul essence, and thrive despite the things thrown at you, despite the negative experiences thrown against you. I think we could bring any one of the listeners on and they'll explain some horrendous event. I've had a number of myself, mainly for people around me, thinking I had no value, people who really should have loved unconditionally. But this is the type of fun and games where certain individuals, and I've covered this on the show, certain individuals can't be got at directly. They have to put chaos in the way in the form of the people around them. And I think you've experienced more than enough of that, Lily, recently and in the past.
Well,
you will recognise that.
This is the concept that was so beautifully presented on the first video I watched with Tommy, and I'd watched others beforehand. But this one was the one where you were talking about the internal flow, which is where you connect with your higher self, with your whole self, and the external flow. And this has many layers. Like what you're talking about, Thomas, is like so some people can't be knocked off center from their internal flow, but they try from the external world. And then too, at the same time, our internal flow of connection to our higher self and the messages our higher self has for us requires us going out into the external world to kind of get a read on things and check to see if there's any more information to be found in others or nature, right? Going and sitting in nature, and then we take the in-breath again and check in on the internal part of us, and evolve it further. This is the natural mechanism of balance that Lily nailed in that one diagram and description that has been derailed here. And it's very important that all of us spend time in nature, spend time inside to reestablish this, because I think right now what's happening is there's a quickening to a return of this individual internal balance mechanism by doing your shadow work, so that when you go internal, you're not dealing with external influences, but by also activating our missions here more and more in each and every moment. The balance is returning. We are still dealing with external influences, but to such a much less degree that it's mostly up to us clearing the internal, where we allowed programming. Right, Zeus? That's Lily's dog who barked.
So
he agrees.
Once you was there a defining moment in your life where you decided, I have to do something with this knowledge and I have to step forward? Was there a specific event or anything like that, or is it just a realization, now's my time as such?
No, it's just I was pushed quite a bit by my higher self and my circumstances, which is pushing me into that, you have to speak this. You have to speak this. And so, and I just sort of did what I felt that I need to do. And I didn't have the reasoning on that time. Now I understand why.
Yes.
But on that time I didn't. And I just put it out, and then I didn't think anybody would pay attention because it was so weird sounding. That I didn't think, and I thought to myself, if it needs to be out, then here it is.
But sometimes you will experience this. Whilst it may not go out to hundreds of thousands or millions or whatever, sometimes that information only has to go out to one person to make the difference. And that person you meet, that could be in bizarre circumstances, could be the one that pushes that into fruition. And, you know, like you said earlier, everyone's got bits of the puzzle. And sometimes what we're finding now, and I think you'll agree with this, more and more people that woke up sooner with a lot of concepts and ideas, visions and dreams and stuff that all perhaps at the time initially didn't make too much sense, is all collecting into a nice almost completed jigsaw, to use the example. And so the important thing is you came forward because the likelihood is that had to take place, but then maybe someone else will come in and go, I've got this piece that fits nicely into what you've done, and I'm missing a whole chunk of what you've got, and that adds to the puzzle, and then more and more people are joining the circle and completing the picture.
Yeah, all of us have a piece of the puzzle. And, you know, I admit, when I first started watching your videos a couple of years ago, I didn't get it. Now I get it. And there's a piece of that that's that. You're like, no question is silly. It's about the timing, you know, and that's why, you know, even the beings we had on the show the other day, you know, some things that were said, you know, they're not aware that we know, and so they didn't say things, you know, certain things, because we're all trying to meet each other in the middle, but where is the middle? We're not in any normal situation here. You know? No. You know, so we're all going to meet each other up as best we can, and that's just the way of it.
Yes, Chloe, and just so, you know, I didn't even know it on that time either, so.
Exactly. You know.
So, I had no idea where it's gonna fit. I trusted that it might.
That's right.
And I was open to be wrong about things.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not looking to find people that think my information is cool, you know, or that they want to follow it or something. It was not my intent at all. And what I wanted to do is find other people that I knew that I need to find as well. Yeah. So I can grow myself even more, because I knew I always from the beginning, and then pretty soon I started talking about the self-healing process. Yeah. And that to me was very important. And I said, you know, we have to self-heal, because it's all about self, so we can move into collective level healings. And I had no idea a year ago what it's going to be like and how it's going to start. And I just had a feeling that it's going to start, but it was all depending on this, our living now growth and our own creation. You know, we are creating little by little, we're creating this timeline that is created by us. And there's a lot of us here, so we will have to come together to create this reality. And what I realized that to all of that programming that we've got, no matter where we were, you know, in America here, there was one type of experiment. In Soviet Union, it was whole another, you know, but the lies were everywhere, and there is one order here on the planet, and we all know that now. I mean, drag is controlled.
They had one agenda to derail us from refinding balance within and recreating it outside of us externally. And yeah, they did tailor it for each country, right? They changed it.
And then what they do is they put us against each other. So like they'll put KGB against CIA, and they're, you know, the KGB boys are fighting the CIA boys, and they don't even know that whatever they're trying to do to each other has been done to them already.
Yeah, a well-known truther has come out with a story that the USA is going to be attacking Germany, and I just laughed because it's the same fact.
People.
you know.
But again, that's all part of the illusion that the Cold War and that the CIA was fighting with the KGB. Actually, they were working together.
Yeah.
And along with MI6 and Mossad, all those 4 agencies were all working together, all playing the game for the Draco and the Sons. And the changes are now where that's been disrupted immensely, and they're now struggling.
Yes, and so this is now a collective level, so we're gonna have to step into it. But I wanted to go back to self-healing and express a little bit more why I feel that it's so important.
Yes.
Because through all this programming and through all the mind control, what had happened to humanity, and this was well intentional, and so how it's done, it really doesn't matter. But what they went after, it's our human morals.
Mm.
And
right and wrong.
Yes, that what we know within us.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the number one thing that they need to do, because if you have your own morals, you're very difficult to say, hey, go push the button and go kill, thousands of people. They need to demoralize completely all humankind for them to control us. And so what they were doing, they were programming everybody. There's all of the countries, everything in this world was programmed. And so right now, for us to understand how can we regain that, we can only regain our own morality, our own conscious awareness by doing it ourselves.
Yeah,
nobody can do it.
Yeah.
And then if you do that and you stand in that center of you that is your authentic self, your living soul.
And the process of doing that is looking at why you're angry at someone, either a person from a specific religion or race, or even, a man or a woman mad at other women. You have to look at what's underneath your anger towards that, because the anger is the wall of separation. Anger, usually, it's fear, like low self-worth, jealousy, some sort of comparison concept that you are not living up to. That's why you must fight them in the external, and that's when you're building that wall, that division that is there, damaged to keep us separate, and you have to look at why you feel that way, at the bottom feeling, what's underneath that anger, or why you want to fight Lily, or why you want to fight what Thomas is saying, or why you want to fight what Chloe is saying. Usually it's got a little bit to do with something close to what they're saying, is something that you want to understand more, or you're attracted to, but you have programs in you that are blocking your own understanding of it, which may be a different piece of the puzzle that's part of our whole puzzle. Right?
Right. And the thing is that to step into collective level healing and regain, because the reason we need to heal is so we can own our own reality, so we can step out of that matrix, and so we can have a living field expressing. And we have to get into that place where it is in the center of us, where we are connected to source energy, where all possibilities, all probabilities are available, and you have your full-on will that you use, because this is your will that brings in manifestation from the invisible, from all the possibilities that exist in source. So it's through you. We are the creator beings. And so to understand this, who we are as a creator beings, we are so powerful. And so it took them this much to kill this, this understanding of what human being actually is.
Yes.
So we are so lost in that.
Extinguish. The quickening is relighting it in us, and it's through the discomfort of the dark experiences that's making us relight our own inner fires of our quiescent self, our self that is unmoved by any of this, because they can't destroy it, I do not think. It's just very buried. I mean, that's what happens with traumas. You shut down, you go in. And that's why the quickening, to me, I see it at that flow of the in-breath and the out-breath of sitting with yourself, going in with periods of the flow outward to check in on the collective. And it's going faster and faster. And this is part of also the collective catching the wave of energies to catch up with natural planetary being, where the higher D that she's going, so it is a very humbling, surrendering process that we would be best served spending a lot of time out in nature and respecting our inner flow, and then, yes, talking to each other, opening up in the external to help see where your puzzle pieces meet up, because when that puzzle's all together, the collective does instantaneous heal.
Yes, it's unbelievable how beautiful the healing could be. But the thing is, if you regain that, then it will give you, because right now this is what we're facing, right? And Thomas, you this is why I just was so excited to talk to you, is because you talk about the solutions and how we can move forward. And this is what I'm adding, that once you regain your own will and you know that you are the creator being, you will step forward and you can always choose from that place, from your own will, from your own conscience, from your own internal moral code as a human being. And this is the only way we as a collective humanity can take this reality back, is each individual is responsible for their own self to withdraw themselves from all and own every choice.
Yes.
We have to own every choice that we take, and every step that we take and every choice that we make. We own it now.
Yeah. It's a powerful place, and it's not easy to maintain this observer warrior stance that does not move no matter what they do. But yeah.
Right.
And I'm talking about multi-levels here, to where on every level, be it no matter who you are and no matter where you are and how deep you are in the matrix, you can always, if you regain your own moral code and you act on it and you put your will behind it, then you can always be it. You can be a president, or you can be a top, level of Illuminati. You can make the choice today to choose something different.
We're a powerful leader for humanity. Thomas, do you want to say something about taking action?
Well, it was something that Lily said, and then I linked it up with one or two of the questions from Thursday's show, before and after. Who's making choices on my behalf. And I alleviated some of that in the first hour. But ultimately, what Lily is telling you, you are making the choice by your own conscious thoughts. Now, I mentioned this recently. I described about some of the technology where our conscious thoughts that used to go out to source is being blocked by the mirror tech. And often, if you're bad as a child, they tell you to sit in a corner and reflect on what you've done. In other words, you're pushing the trauma deeper inside. Reflect on what you've done. So your words are going out, and you may say, I'm sorry I did that, but it's coming back into you. So you're withholding the trauma all the time. Now, with this tech that's now gone, both the AI and the mirror technology and the matrix, your conscious thought now matters. And matters has not only a purpose, but a function.
Yeah.
You create matter, you create reality.
Yes.
And so if you wish or desire to have a say in how humanity goes, step forward with it. It doesn't mean you have to be a politician. It doesn't mean you have to be on a corporate board. It just means that you have to be distinctive with your thought process. I want humanity to go this way. I don't want this, and this. Yeah. Now, for the first time in 6 loops, 78,000 years, humanity has a choice to make its own decisions by natural law and free will. And on that note, we're going to have a music break, and then we'll come back with more from Lily and more from Chloe in the final hour. We mentioned the word humbling. I think we'll go with the Pucifier and the Humbling River. Bye for now. Hi all, and welcome back to the final hour this evening. Joining us this evening, we're delighted to have on, and I know that she'll come on again in the future as things progress. And she's been telling us about her life and how we fix it. And yes, we're all responsible for ourselves. Too often, humanity has handed over responsibility. We heard this on the Thursday show. We handed over responsibility to others to deal with our trauma and our issues. We can't do that going forward. And once we all remember who and what we are, then everything changes. Once you stand in your own sovereignty, everything changes. Cabal and negative entities can't exist in our frequency as long as we're all together. They just can't prosper. It's only when we lower ourselves to low self-esteem, low confidence, doubting our own abilities, that these entities who choose to loosh and do all kinds of other things against us can thrive. But also these people are very, very cowardly. You have to remember that also. They hide in the dark like cockroaches. And the minute the light is shined on them, they sing like a canary. I've heard reports of that, of certain ones of them being pulled in, and boy do they sing. And so, when people, Lily can touch on this, recognise and stand in their own power, and then meet up with like-minded people and coalesce into a larger and larger and larger group, all the negative goes away. Is that your take on it, Lily? You were talking about self-healing. Did you finish that? You wanted to talk a bit more about that? Yes. Yes. It's funny you should say that. It's something I announced on we had a show on December the 30th, and I've told our listeners, right from a very young age, on December the 31st, as it went into the new year, how we get messages of what to expect for the following year. And last year, I got messages a week before, which was a kind of surprise to me. And it's on full. It's because I've got guests on, it lowers my mic. There's not a great deal I can do with it. So, let me just check one thing and see if that makes any sort of difference. That's as high as it'll go on both channels now. So if that's better, good. I can't see Facebook because my page is messing up. And this has happened in the last two shows, where they've decided to mess with our group and the page. Well, if they think that bothers us, they've got another thing coming, because we've got more in store for their fun and games. So, I forgot where I was going now. The show on December the 30th, I said that this is the year of the apocalypse, which is the revealing of the hidden. And also, things will get very confusing and very convoluted. I think we've all witnessed that, and I think many of us have been saddened and disappointed, and in some cases absolutely disgusted in the so-called freedom movement, where too many are basically using it as a way to profit, a way to confuse, a way to divert people from the truth. It's quite painful when you follow certain people. You see what happened with Cosmic Voice, and now we've got a separate group. Thankfully, because the way it was handled, that issue and drama went away very, very quickly, because people, in essence now, have had enough of that drama. You know, we all play into it at times. Oh, such and such is doing this and this one's doing that, and we get involved in other people's lives because it makes us forget the bad parts of our life. Well, what I'm seeing now is a sea of change, where people are being a lot more open and not holding on to, I follow, for argument's sake, let's use someone that's less prevalent, Alex Collier. And everything Alex Collier says is correct. And so I'm going to stick with it. But then everything Alex Collier says isn't correct. You know, Alex has made 3 statements about Nibiru this year. He's going to be wrong on all 3. And that's sad for some people who like Alex Collier, or do you like David Wilcock, or do you like Drake, or whoever else. You know, each and every one of us, including myself, has been wrong. And but if it's an honest wrong, and you are prepared to hold your hand up and say, I made a mistake, that's fine. But when you continue with a narrative that is clearly not correct, and then you go into the stuff like the Max Spears, some of the stuff that took place in that was horrendous. But I think I'd like your opinion on the first part, the negative part, and also your opinion is how you're seeing a change in the people in the alternative media not accepting this anymore. They want the truth.
to where there was a need for, you know, when people are starting to awake, the system put people in place to control them. And so a lot of those alternative media channels are just there for disinformation and keep people confused, keep them distracted from their truth, keep them distracted from their own self-awareness, from their own truth, from their own path, and just putting them into this hive mind programmed thinking and belief systems. And they've done it using so much of victim-victimizer game that it's impossible, seems like it's impossible to get rid of in alternative community. People have turned that platform into an unbelievably blown up, puny victimizer games. That's all it's going on. On that time when the serious things that are happening and coming to the surface, like some serious stuff and some painful stuff that my brain up, like stuff that Randy talks about, you know, all of that, it's all real. It's been happening here. And then humanity has to have enough of self-healing done to be able to deal with those collective issues.
Yeah.
And so again, this is why if that just throws us into, oh my God, I want to go and kill all these people because this has been happening. We've been aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
The situation we are facing right now, I personally, I don't have any blind spots about it. I rather not. Yeah. I've been trying to reveal certain things and try to make a difference in alternative community and say, wait a minute here. We're not here to play the same game. We need to get to work here. We need to get to truth. Because all this truth movement, most of it, at one point I said 99% of it was co-opted.
Well, it is. The truther community or the conspiracy or the New Age movement has been purposefully populated with either consciously knowing agents for the Illuminati, program members, or not. And it was done specifically to get us, you know, because they know we're pretty shut down, pretty rigid. We don't like change. We've had so much bad change that we're shut down. So when people follow one person's, what they have to say rigidly and are not open to anyone else, this is all done to stifle our creativity and will, which is where we manifest. And where our creativity sits in us, in our bodies, is in our second chakra. And if I can just read something here, because this completely makes sense to everything we're taking note to, and why the topic of sexual abuse happening to both men and women is coming out now, because second chakra is essential to be cleared individually. People need to sit within a nice centered, grounded shield and meditate on their second chakra, because this is where your creativity comes from. So our creative potential was gone at by the Illuminati, because if it's misdirected, like they've done, that's where they create power struggles. We create power struggles in our lives. Instead of using the sacral energy in co-creation and partnership and in sexual relationships and union, a person with a dysfunctional second chakra can often become money hungry, using wealth and power, and that's over people to dispassionately control and dominate them. You know, it's where we have our power and control issues. And it's what makes people energy vampires, which is kind of what the Draco parents wanted, us to steal energy from each other so they didn't have to actively abuse us anymore. We just did it to each other. So it's coming back to being tolerant with each other, patient with family and friends, having good, healthy relationships and balanced relationships with food even, because that's a central that's where we create energy for our bodies, is with food, right? There's so many people that are overweight in America because of this imbalance there. So for men, it's more the solar plexus, which is the other where our center of will sits. But for men predominantly, you can generally say that their solar plexus is the energy center that's been that needs clearing. This is where our second brain is, where our intuition comes from. When you have a bad feeling something's going to happen, it's in our gut, right? And they don't want us to listen to that. They don't want us to be strong in our will, which is what you were saying earlier about our morals, right? You feel it in your gut, what is right and wrong.
Exactly.
So these are the two areas that they've mostly hammered that are connected to other energy centers in our body, but this is truly what I've found. So our intuitive wisdom, our knowledge, it's really centered in our solar plexus. But for men, it's more so the area that they receive the most clobbering from in this Draco-imbued society, right? It's also when we go out into the astral, leave the body, we have a cord that comes out of our navel, out of our solar plexus, that keeps us connected to our body, so they can control more that we go to the fake astral, to the AI astral, through there. If we're not centered in our will and our sense of right and wrong, we're not going to have discernment to trust our intuition to go, no, this isn't the right astral. I want to go there, the real, and actually get free of the matrix when we go and do our night work or whatnot.
Yeah, Chloe, you said it beautifully. I mean, you nailed it. It's like it all depends on us.
Mm-hmm.
All depends on us. And the more we do that, then the stronger we get and the more we can do and the more forward we can take ourselves and others. Because right now, which is Thomas just mentioned, there is no more tech. There is no more, it's all up to you. All we have is the conditioning now that we have,
self-limitation,
that we need to shed and let it go and move forward, because we need a lot of bravery in moving forward.
I'd just like to say apologies to the listeners, but the show, as well as the Facebook page, is being messed with. So apologies for the gappage just after the music. They muted mics and also messed with the sound levels. So apologies for that. There was a small gappage and the girl's mic was off, which was not the case. So let them play their silly little games. Their silly little games will be bouncing back right on them fairly shortly. Consequences of actions we spoke about recently in the show, Lily, and that's been sort of an issue where certain individuals, select few, seem to think they can get away with doing whatever they like, while everybody else has to suffer the karma, so to speak. What I know is that has now changed. There is consequences for actions, and there will be enforcement to fix that issue. So that's going to be encouraging going forward.
Yeah, that's what I also put in the beginning of the year, is that the instant karma, that law is gonna come into play here really, really soon. And I think this is happening right now, and this is what we see where the difference is the most right now into the realities in how to see the difference in between those people that are actually stepping into their power and stepping into what I call it, a Earth's timeline path, and those that are still running the programs, running the Draco agenda, because that's what they're doing. Everyone else who doesn't do that, because right now, the only thing that we have, humanity right now, on this level where we are, the only problems we have that we can't come together is because we can't come together. It's our fault. We need to take responsibility for that. We're the ones who need to make the change in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you do that yourself. You have to do that clearing. Why am I angry at this? Or why am I fighting that? Why am I beating myself up? Everyone's got to ask themselves that question.
Yes,
that's
why
how you do it.
Or why do I play the victim games? Why do I still feel victim? Why is it? There is a lot of people. It used to be sort of where they just can't let go of that victimizer game. But this is what I'm seeing is the difference in the energy, and this is how I know we're moving forward with this timeline. And it's just, it feels, I feel like I want to dance. Because you know what? This instant karma, I see how it is working right now, because everything that it's bringing forth and revealing, it's revealing that to where no matter how much tantrum they can throw, they're so visible right now that they're just working anti-human agenda, that they're just wanted to stay in that victim game, because they're so clear to those that have done their work and are stepping into that thing. What can I do as an equal to all living being on this planet to be on the timeline that is pro-life?
Yes.
To every living being on this planet, and it is pro-life to the planet that we live on. Because there's a lot of people that don't include the planet into their reality. Like we've been separated on so many different levels. And it is up to us to bring all those separated pieces of us back into our own self and own it through your own soul and own it all, the dark and the light, because you can only fix the dark if you can go there.
Yes.
So you have to be aware of it. And so this is what I'm saying, that we're going to see this whole full spectrum.
Yeah.
And those people that don't understand what this new energy is doing, they're obviously acting a little bit spiritually retarded because they don't feel this energy. Well, so they keep on going on with their little games that they
call them energy octopuses. They're not in alignment. They're not centered, coming from themselves. They have electrified octopus arms flinging out everywhere that are zapping this and zapping that, and it's zapping them. So they're just sitting there in the middle going. But the whole point is that what you're saying is there is no more barriers between us and connecting to Earth and our whole self. It is an illusion. I know that's hard to hear, but when you say go to the dark to get clear, or saying go inside, sit in your solar plexus, sit in your second chakra, feel the energy there, and eject, release it, clear of your aura. We have a better ability, us that aren't in the programs, that aren't holding on so tight to Draco belief systems, the need for power over, the need for control. We have a better ability to let that go if we just allow ourselves to face the dark inside of our own energy bodies and release it. We'll rocket past it. This is the illusion, right? The fourth layer of the matrix that Shane, the last thing he brought up on his page. This is the springboard to getting 100% in the natural, and no more of these guys are outside of, we're entering into our full range of frequencies, which excludes them because their range that they're comfortable in is so small, and it doesn't even compare to where we're going if we get clear.
See,
exactly.
The thing is, and the overview, as I get it, is if you stand in your own sovereignty, you automatically have a more energetic connection to Mother Earth.
Yep.
Because that's the resonance that she is putting out. So you're then marrying up with that frequency. As you do that, then both entities will then marry up with the solar entity. As you go through the solar entity, which is connected to the galactic and onto source. And so this is the stages of progression from the dense lower self to the higher form of ourselves, which is in all of us. It's not special to a certain few, it's in all of us. You connect with yourself. Once you connect with yourself, you're automatically on a resonant frequency with Mother Earth. You're connected with the solar being, and you're connected with the source energy also. And this tech and mind control and religious constructs and a whole heap of other things that have basically cut us off from not only who and what we are, but who and what we're connected to.
Yeah, through the root chakra, through it's where our life force energy comes from, and they literally had it plugged into their loosh farms. Exactly. We were slightly offset to it, and all of that tech, year after year, mission after mission, many of us work to free ourselves and the collective, layer by layer of AI, of technology was removed. It is gone, folks. If you sit in nature and center and ground, it feels different now. I'm sure a lot of you would say that because you've experienced it. And anything that feels different, it's gonna both be kind of almost like, whoa, that's weird, because you haven't felt it in so long, and you have to get used to it. We're remembering so much, and it is such a difference from what we've been experiencing for so many lives that there is, some part of me does understand when other, warriors for the truth community want to argue with others, but, just drop it. There's no need to compete. Just, we're all going to say things a slightly different way. Maybe not the ones that are working for the Illuminati, that are out there to misdirect on purpose, but I'm talking the other ones. If you're admiring someone's expression of a truth that they're saying it in a little bit different or better way than you, admire it, become it yourself. Don't have to slag them, there's so much change going on. We have to get used to it. We have to become adaptable again and stop being flinching in when is the next boot gonna drop, the shutdown thing.
We have to be
open.
I think we have to be aware that we are actually, what is happening here is incredibly beautiful because we have the beginning of humanity stepping up into their creator self.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have overlapping the end of the Draco system that was here. And they had a lot of crap here.
Yeah.
And all of that, and so there's people that are gonna be moving out of your reality because they're still staying with that programming. They're still flowing on that programmed reality, and that is their choice. We cannot do anything to change that because we know that human being is equal to every other living being that is here on this planet, and we have free will, and we cannot enforce anything on anybody else. So it is their choice.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as we are going through this and stepping into our creation, we also have to understand that we are not going to match up with those that are still flowing with the mind control programming.
No.
We're going to be going into a whole different direction.
Oh, yeah. You can respect that if they keep doing it over there, away from us.
But that's their sole choice, is it not, Lily?
That's right.
Yes, and the fact is that just because it is happening in our collective reality, because our collective reality still has both type of people that chose Earth's timeline and people that didn't choose Earth's timeline. That's just what it is. But we have still a collective same and one reality. So this is why we're experiencing this sort of very different things in progression. Mm-hmm. Like, well, we're progressing forward, but the Draco system is progressing down into the toilet. So, and all the people that are connected or contracted through that, they're going down there as well. And so they're going to go in their own way as well. And a lot of people are going with the ego blowing up and blazing on, online.
But that's part. The ones that do that are basically the ones that haven't done their inner work. It's manifesting it always manifests into something else. People who are scared of certain things act in a bravado nature. So that's a person who hasn't done their inner work, and so they'll project this massive ego because they are hiding the fact that they haven't done their inner work, they haven't done the shadow side, they haven't dealt with their own trauma, they haven't dealt that they've committed traumas or they've done wrong and released it. We've all been right and wrong and done good things in this life, and we've also done bad things. And it's important to balance the two and not hold on to the trauma. Some of it will be more difficult for certain individuals because of some of it is quite frankly of a heinous nature. Some of the MK Ultra stuff that I was discussing with Randy this morning, some of the sexual abuse and some of the child.
That's why that's all coming up. It's the second chakra. It can't clear.
It's coming out now, and that's going to be difficult. That's going to be difficult for a lot of people to take on board, but.
Yes, and there is more.
Yeah.
There is more. There is more coming out. You talked about other things that our children are used for. Yes. And I started to bring it up slowly a little bit and then ask people a question. Also, as you go into self-empowerment, look who you supported. Look who those people standing with. Yes. What platform are they standing on? You were talking about people, and there is people in alternative community that think that Putin can save them. And I say, wait a minute. Look at the platform that the whole thing is standing on. What is coming out right now in Russia as well. The truth about all of that is coming out, that he is the one, and in connection with Patriarch Kirill, are responsible for all of the trafficking of children from Russia and Ukraine for cabal, for
Are you
their
talking about
blood
the
sacrifice and all of that stuff.
The leader of Russia, patriarchal human trafficking.
Yes, the Orthodox Church patriarch is actually, the mafia contact for, they're providing children to cabal for all kinds of things. Because you know how they like those blonde hair, blue-eyed children?
Yep.
A lot of them are coming from Ukraine and Russia. Coming.
And that goes back to a Draco preference for that phenotype of that appearance of human because of their dislike of one of our root races.
Exactly.
It's not even a preference of, it's just old wars over and over again. We don't even know where this stuff came from. The only reason I know that is because someone else told me, but that's why it's a blonde, blue-eyed phenotype.
All of that is gonna come out. So is humanity ready for it?
Well, I don't know.
Are those in alternative communities, or those that propagating Putin, what they're gonna do when that information comes out? And this is what I'm saying. When that comes out to the surface, are you gonna be ready to deal with it? And how are you going to deal with it? Or are you going to try to hide? And how are you going to try to hide? And then I haven't even connected the Asian, faction to it. Because they're the ones who are making drugs that are experimented, and given to Ukrainian and Russian women, so they lose their empathy for their children and give them away to the government.
Give them away,
and the Chinese make those drugs, and the family, the dragon family, is involved in that directly. And so, how do you bring that out to people? And then what's going to happen when the information like that come out? Is humanity ready for this?
Well,
so this is why I'm saying
you've already seen it. A lot of people think that guy over in Russia is the savior. They use these drugs also to stupefy the children so that they can't escape. When I was a kid, people would ask me about my family, and I would tell them, and they'd tell me to my face, I'm lying. It's not gotten much better. It's coming out now, but there's going to be quantum leaps ahead with this. It's going to blow people's minds. They want to hold to some heroes someplace, but you know what? That rug you're standing on or that rock you're standing on is slimy, not solid. You're going to get an information dump and you're going to have to deal with it. And if you want to think we're lying, fine, but you've got blinders on.
Well,
exactly. Standing on that platform with people with the blood, with the children's blood running down their hands, and you standing there propagating their agenda in alternative media, and how can you stand there on that platform? This is what all the people in alternative community there are still supporting. Draco factions on the planet. You should ask yourself a question. How are you going to look humanity in the eyes when the platform that you're standing on is full of children's blood?
That's it. And they can't look themselves in the eyes, Lily. They can't. They're going to be left behind. And that is fine. But for right now, we kind of need to, people will hear this and maybe a few more will realize what we're saying. Stop needing a goddamn savior. See who these people are connected to and what they're really doing, because there's a lot of deception still. And it's necessary, absolutely necessary, we continue to wake up to the dark, how it's damaged us internally, let it go, and move forward, knowing what we've been through so we don't recreate it. Because that is the core of the issue. We cannot recreate in our future what we've already been through. We've already been down this road. Each and every one of us has had a lifetime where we were the child sold. You know, each one of us has been, you know, murdered in some horrendous ritual. You know, we don't need to keep recreating this. This is why we need to get clear of the residual programming within each and every one of us. Look at why you want to fight against whoever's saying that's different from you, or why you want to hold to a certain person because you respect and admire them. Look around at who they're standing next to, like you're saying, because the connections are everywhere. The web of lies is everywhere. Once you look underneath that, you can stay confident and secure in your sovereign self, which is, again, our root chakra, where we connect to the planet. Right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And what I want to say is to all those people that are still questioning or trying to protect or suppress the information coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And in alternative community, the way they're trying to suppress it is they're trying to attack and discredit those that say, hey, pay attention to what platform this individual is standing on and where are you going to end up if you stand with that individual. Because if you follow somebody, you know, you're standing with them. You're giving your energy to them. That means you are in agreement with that platform that individual is standing on. So every one of those that right now are suppressing the truth, the actual truth, ask yourself what you're going to do when you can no longer hide under the blanket of lies that you believed you had. Because every one of those people were told by somebody else that they believe telling them the truth, that as long as they follow orders, they are going to be okay.
No.
And they're not okay right now. And a lot of people are realizing that they're not okay, that they're being lied to.
Mm-hmm.
Because whoever told them that it was going to be okay, they were lied to, and they were told to lie to somebody else. Yes. You know, there is the web of lies that you said. You can't unravel it. What you need to do is step above it.
Yeah.
So for those people that trying to suppress what's been happening under the Draco control here,
yeah,
and don't want it to come out because they may not look good in front of humanity, I'm going to tell you this, that your problem right now is nothing compared to the problem that you're going to have when all the truth comes out and you're standing on the platform in the pool of children's blood.
Yeah.
How you gonna do that? And then in you knowing that now, and your action are taken into the direction to stop the flow of truth to come out.
Yeah.
And then when it does come out, you're gonna be visible as well, that you were the one who wanted to protect the agenda of abuse of humanity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who you gonna blame then?
Yeah.
Who you gonna blame?
Themselves.
Well, one of the over the last it's pretty much 12, 13 months now, we've done some fairly groundbreaking shows. And one of them is The Future of Humanity, which set a ball rolling and set a narrative rolling in many ways. That's led up to these times. And then in November, we did the Faction Show, and that exposed more layers, you know, because I think most people were familiar with the term Illuminati or the term Cabal, but this exposed the deeper layer. And once you start exposing the deeper layers and people start realizing and putting the pieces together. Yes, it's a giant puzzle, and yes, it's all interconnected, but the fact when you're seeking out answers to certain things, the fact that it's all interconnected means you can connect the dots easier once you see the web to begin with. And the faction show opened a lot of avenues, which has led on to a lot of other things being exposed, like certain dragon groups. In fact, the reality is all the dragon groups are of no value to either people, all of them. I've said this previously. It's not an attack on one particular individual. I'm talking about the dragon groups. They're not there for our
groups.
They're not there for our benefit.
No.
They're there for the Draco benefit and certain negative dragon groups. There's some dragon groups, off-world dragon groups, that were beneficial, but the Draco corrupted that also. And this is why we will continue, and I will continue to expose. And thankfully now I've got people around me, likes of Lily, likes of Randy, and the Irish guys in Open Your Mind Radio. But exposing this now so that people have an easier path on what is the more difficult path, which is the truth. It's a lonely path. What we don't need is side roads we're being dragged down when we want to continue on the one path. And so, given a lot of trauma has come out, and it's upset many people to find out certain individuals are not working for the benefit of the people, they're working for the benefit of certain other groups and the benefit of the self. Are you encouraged over this particular year, Lily, of the progress that people have made and how they've handled it?
I could never expect what I got this past year. It was, a lot of things had been difficult, but a lot of things had been so surprisingly beautiful. Mm-hmm. I love humanity even more today than I did, in all my life that I could remember, because, as all of this nastiness is coming out, I see how beautifully we all wanted to just let it go and never allow it to happen again. No. We're so ready to be human beings today than, even a few months ago, I was in a very difficult spot and there was a lot going on. And today, I have a lot of seems to be like attacks on me, but I'm laughing a lot. I'm enjoying so much that there is so much movement, and that I see that some things are going away that are supposed to go away. That I was so waiting to go away. It was so difficult for me to bring forward, and especially to call people out on their things, or like to bring out this very difficult and very dark things. But the reason I am bringing that out, and the reason I'm calling people out in alternative media and saying this in such a way that might be perceived as so negative or really too dark, is because we can stop this.
Yes.
Because we are if we are allowing this to go on for another second, we are responsible.
And that's
because if one of us knows the truth and doesn't brings it up so we can stop it and not allow it to repeat itself again, then think of the responsibility that you have.
Yeah, a lot of people are feeling very moved by when we were talking about the children and the human trafficking, and how you can help is clear your own programming out from your own energy centers. The faster we get our individual consciousness higher, more frequency range outside of theirs, the faster all of humanity will, and it ends. That is the biggest way for this to end. And this is the biggest message for those that want to, be jealous and attack each other, that we're all on the same side. Stop with that stuff. Deal with your own first and second chakra energy blocks. We want to do this for our children, and the way to do it is to take our frequency range outside of their ability to be able to even do this stuff anymore.
I know. It's like, do the right thing.
Yeah. And it
Come
takes
forward.
Bravery.
Speak the truth.
And courage to do
Let's
it.
deal with this. Because if we don't, in the state of the state of things that are here right now on the planet, with war, with what humanity right now, if we don't wake up and take charge of this reality and fix it and do something, we will not survive. We will just kill each other if we follow Draco orders. And this is to all order followers. I don't care where your order comes from. If you're following somebody else's orders, you're a slave. You're not sovereign. You're not self-empowered. No matter how many lies, beautiful lies, you will tell your ego, you are not. Because if you taking orders, and especially orders to hurt humanity, you are a slave. You are a slave to a Draco system, and they don't give a shit about you. They never did, and they never will. But humanity, for us right now, this is the situation, and we know that this is the situation. If we don't step up, who's going to step up for us? Who's going to step up for our children?
Yeah, and who else is going to step up but us that get clear of this? All this crap they threw at us, and we're still standing. And we will damn well make sure it doesn't go on out in space to any other planet either. So don't worry about that, Luna.
This is the last one.
This is the last place that the Draco will ever pull this off. We are going to be the creator beings to undo this type of imbalance everywhere.
And we should get to it.
Yep.
As soon as everyone can get to it. Because it's either now or never.
Yeah.
Yes. All the walls, the false bars, the constructs, the matrix, the mirror magic, the plasma tech, the Saturn moon matrix is all gone. All of it. The Draco have gone. The main one that was left behind, there is still some still here, but they're in stasis, shall I put it? I'll put it that way.
Contained.
So it's now the best time for humans and humanity to make the right choice. For the first time in 78,000 years, we have a choice. We have people on the council that will bring in natural law, cosmic law. So there will be consequences of your actions as an individual and as a collective. This is the best time ever for humanity. Yes, there is difficult hurdles to overcome. There's going to be bumpy rides because some of us will not be too comfortable hearing some of the negative things that have been done on this planet right in front of your face. That's going to be difficult, but it will be less difficult with us all standing in our own sovereignty, having cleared our trauma, and shadow sides and dealt with our own personal internal issues and moved forward as a collective with other like-minded people. As Lily said, if others choose to stay on their own path that is not conducive to humanity, they will become a minority and they will get left behind. You can't help those people. It's a sole choice. Some of them have been too programmed too far. The cabal have been victims in many aspects also, the human cabal.
Yeah, but even them had a choice to continue to do it. They could have done a runner, at 15, at 18, like other people we know. But no, they made a conscious choice to continue. And they're going to have to look themselves in the eye, and they're going to have to look us in the eye when this all comes out.
Yes, I'm just going to add a little thing. One thing that is very easy to recognize, and especially in alternative communities right now, is if you see somebody working on that competitive mind structure and all of that stuff, that's a Draco system program. They're completely going on that, because humanity right now, we're in collaborative mind. Yeah. We're looking horizontally. We're looking to each other for answers and solutions and all of that stuff. And there is no jealousy of any sort in the collaborative mind. Yeah. And this is what is really expressing right now, and especially with the females, especially the ones that are running on inverted feminine energy. They run themselves into the ground now. And so this is why they're going freakishly nuts right now. Yeah. Because the jealousy is unfreaking believable.
They have to compete, and it makes me sad because their energy could be added to the collaborative. But no, they make this choice to compete instead. It's like, I admire people. When I admire people, I try to become my own version of them. I don't try to squelch them and tell them to shut up and things like that. You want to admire, go for it and become your own version. Don't try to do what the Draco have done and have us squish each other down. No more of that.
Yep. Right. We've overran a bit.
We took over your show, Tommy.
Yes. 2 shows running now. I've had to put up with all females, and so my chances of getting a word in edgeways are limited. But that's okay.
You're a very strong man, Tom.
I have plenty of time to speak and plenty of shows to get my side across, so that's okay. The idea, the way I see it as an interviewer, is people are not here to listen to what my opinion is. If we bring a guest on, it's about what the guest has to say, not what the host has to say. I'm used to do that on CV, and we do that here. So, we thank you for giving us your time, and hopefully you will come on again, as I think we can expand on an awful lot more. And I'd like you to have a final say before we close the show, Lily.
I just want to thank you so much to you and Chloe, and I'm so happy that I came across you, because I'm always looking for people that want to collaborate and figure stuff out, how we can move forward. I thank you so much for being out there, for having the show. This is so beautiful. I've been listening to the last few weeks. I know that I never knew you, Thomas, until I heard your talk with Shane.
Yes.
That was my first time. So, that's how much of you I know, and it's been such a pleasure, and I am sorry that I've been all over the place today. I get really nervous because I have a lot of things going on right now, and I usually get very nervous when I speak publicly.
No, I think you did fine. You grew into it. I have to admit, I'm a fairly honest sort of person. I was kind of nervous in the first 10-15 minutes of the Thursday show. It's not every. I mean, you have to take I've tried to take a step back and think, I've just had ETs. I've been talking about ETs all my life, and I've got them on a radio show, and it's like, how do you react to that? Well, it's and process it and take it all in. And thankfully, I've done that over the last 48 hours. And,
Imagine.
It's mind-boggling, but it's part of the times we're in, the reveal and the hidden, and these beings are hidden to most people around the world. And it's time for them to come forward. But it's more time for humanity to step forward, and that's the important thing.
I know. And just to give you a little fun fact about Thursday, the one thing that shocked me the most and gave me the biggest confirmation is I recognized the sense of humor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the part I love the most, was how much they validated a lot of us as inner knowing that we're all ET origin souls too. So technically we talk to ETs all the time when we talk to each other.
Exactly.
Right, that's we've overrun by about 15 minutes, but that's okay. Thanks very much for coming on, Lily, and I think our listeners will have enjoyed this, and I know I have, and Chloe has, and hopefully you will have time to come on again in the future, and we can expand on more things as more things unfold, but expecting more things to unfold in the coming days. It is getting down to that now. It's not a case of a couple of months or a couple of weeks even. Things are on so many levels now, are minute by minute and even as far as second by second. And this is why, there was a possibility of a show last night, but that certain thing wasn't completed, so that may now be held over to Monday. So we may have another show on Monday, or it may be Tuesday, or it might just be next Thursday. Everything is a bit more, so much fluid now, information and things going on. A couple of years ago, we just wouldn't believe it was happening. But it is, and this is the best time for us, and hopefully you all got something out of what Lily was saying and what Chloe was saying, and move forward with a greater purpose and recognise who and what you are. That's the important thing. Once you know who and what you are, everything else doesn't matter, and everything else falls into place. Thank you, Lily, and thank you for Chloe, and thank you for